This is Monday, April the 12th, 2021. Trust that you were a participant in the local church that you attend and that you found the Lord's instruction both challenging and encouraging to you. We continue with verse 11 of 2 Corinthians chapter 7. This is lesson 13, and what we're doing as a reminder is we are going through the various words that the Apostle Paul used to describe godly sorrow in verse 11. And so this morning we come to the word longing. Verse 11 says, "For behold, what earnestness this very thing, namely this godly sorrow, has produced in you." And we have taken a look already at vindication, indignation, and fear. So today we'll take a look at longing. Tomorrow is zeal. The next day, avenging of wrong, and then a wrap-up session on this verse and section. It's hard to believe that when you stop and really examine the scriptures that there is so much here and so many lessons can be developed from this. So we're going to focus in on the word longing. The Greek word means eager longing or desire, strong affection. A cognate, which means the root word, means earnest yearning or affection. It's used in verse 7 when Titus returned to the Apostle Paul to relate to him what the attitude and the actions were of the Corinthians after receiving this letter. It says in verse 3, "And not only by his coming, but also by the comfort with which he was comforted in you, as he reported to us your longing." So there was a reparation of the relationship because the letter created great distress between Paul and the saints here, and rightfully so, because Paul was standing up for the truth, and the Corinthians in 1 Corinthians, if you read the book, had numerous church problems that were affecting the church, yes, but also their standing in the community also. Now, it's a compound word. It's a compound word. Epi plus prothesis. Epiprothesis is the Greek word, and it literally means a setting forth, predetermination, or purpose. And what I found interesting is this. This word is used in setting forth the showbread in the tabernacle and temple. Now, the showbread was changed out regularly. And so the priest would deliberately set forth the fresh showbread in the place of worship and honor to Jehovah God. Now, when it comes down to godly sorrow, it means to set forth, it means to name the sin and deal with the sin for the purpose of driving the dark cloud away which hung over the church in the community. The Corinthian church was being mocked by the citizens of Corinth because of their very low tolerance, very high tolerance for the acceptance of sin, especially when it came down to the immorality in 1 Corinthians 5. The Roman culture and Greek culture just found this deplorable, and they were mocking the Corinthian Christians at this church. And so part of the godly sorrow, as we've taken a look at the other words, is to set forth the matter, have a strong desire, a strong longing to correct the situation so that, if possible, the standing of the church in the community could be altered and changed. And this is important And I've seen this, unfortunately, in all the decades of my pastoral ministry and other areas of ministry, that when a church fails to deal with the presence of sin, it becomes a mockery to the community, because the church is claiming in the years before about how righteous they seek to be and what they believe the Word of God has to say. Yet they permit sin to exist in the church. Now, over time, the church gets what I call a black eye. And so when a new pastor comes in and begins to be used by God with the spiritual leaders of the church to cleanse the church of not only the flagrant sins that are right there in your face, but also the hidden sins that are there as well, the little leaven that is there. And it might take a very long time. It could possibly take years to recover from the black eye that the community has developed about that church. That church is a hypocrite. They're full of people who say one thing and do another. Why should we go to that church? And it will be the citizens of the church, the saints of the church, longing to set forth what is really to take place with the Word of God through the actions and the attitudes of the believers in that church. And it might take a long while before that black eye is removed and the community begins to see by their actions that they truly have changed and that they are not like the citizens of the community. And it's an important testimony, this longing to set forth. It's an important testimony for recovery of Christians who have been labeled as drunkards or thieves or immoral or adulterers or fornicators. And it's important for the church as well. It's really an attitude. And if this attitude is absent, then relationships and the image of the church remain marred. The black eye still stays in place. Next time that we get together, which will be tomorrow, Lord willing, we will take a look at zeal. What zeal? And we thank you for tuning in and trust that we'll see you tomorrow.